Well, we found the issue. Check this out. Alright guys, welcome to part 4, I believe, on the 2000 Honda 400EX. As you guys know, the unfortunate happened and this thing blew up last video. First ride, I think I hit like 5th gear going down a path, and it locked up and wouldn't start back up, and then the starter just gets stuck. So it's definitely something's going on. I think it's the crank bearing. That's my prediction. We're gonna tear into it today, see what's going on with it. A couple people said it might be the timing chain, just got stretched out and broke off in there, but I am not sure what's going on. If you try to start it, I don't even like to do this, but we'll try starting it right now and just to see. You can hear it. You can hear it's getting stuck. Well, so it's definitely getting stuck somewhere. What we're gonna do first is, some people said it might be electrical. Some people said the battery might not be charging, so we're gonna see if it's electrical first. We're gonna put a charger on the battery and then crank it over again. Maybe it just wasn't getting enough oomph to start it up, but I'm guessing that probably wasn't it. And then after that, we're gonna tear apart the whole thing and see what's going on with this thing. As you guys know, this is a really cheap eBay cylinder and piston in here. I bought it from the previous owner like this. He actually said that he replaced it and rebuilt it when his other one went out, and I'll show you guys the other one. His other cylinder, I think it was another cheap eBay one, but he keeps on going through these cylinders and pistons like they're nothing. So he keeps on blowing them up. And my guess is that the crank bearing's bad, and the same thing just keeps on happening over and over again. So we'll see. We'll get into the video and diagnose this thing. Alright guys, first thing we're going to do is check the voltage to the battery. Let's just see if it's getting 12 volts here. That's the first check. Got the voltmeter out. Pretty sure it's getting 12 volts. Check it here. Yep, you can see 12.15 volts, so we're definitely getting voltage to it. So I don't think it's electrical. What else can we check on this thing? Let's start tearing her down. Alright guys, so this is really strange. I'll show you here in a little bit, but it actually just started up with a jump to the battery. Started up and ran perfect, and then I took off the charger and then it instantly died. Like, it was locked up again. It was really weird. So it might be the battery. It doesn't have enough cranking amps or something. It might be just going. So what we're gonna do is try to swap out the battery on this thing. I think maybe that's the issue. But we're getting 12 volts. Which is really weird. So it could be something with like the CDI or something with spark. It's just acting really weird, but I'll show you here in a little bit how I can jump it with that. But it still really could be the crank bearing, where it's just getting caught up and then eventually it just dies when the motor heats up. But I'm kind of stumped here for a second. So yeah, we're gonna have to do some diagnosing here. I don't want to tear into the whole motor if I don't have to. Alright, just check the valves. Those are in spec still. So we're going to attempt to put the starter on the battery and jump it again, see if it starts up. If it does, we're going to swap batteries and see if that's the issue. I'm guessing it's the crank bearing. It's just doing these false things where it's starting up a couple minutes, then shutting off, and starting up, then shutting off, making you think it's like electrical or spark plug, but really it's just the crank locking up. Alright, we got the new battery on. It's a lot bigger. Maybe that'll do the trick. Let's try starting it up here. started right up. Let's see how long it lasts. Let's see if it shuts off here. Last time it shut off when I was giving it throttle. Yep, there it goes. Just shut off right there. So I think something's going on internally. Alright, let's start digging into it. Since we swapped the battery and that worked for a little bit, I'm thinking it's getting hot and seizing up that piston. Alright guys, I just tried to spin the crank with the wrench. So what I'm guessing is what's happening is the bearing's junk, but sometimes it moves and sometimes it doesn't, so it's getting stuck periodically throughout the stage of the piston going up and down. And then sometimes it gets stuck, sometimes it doesn't, so then it locks up when it does get stuck. And then when I free it up and then try starting it up again, it starts up for a little bit then dies. So we'll start tearing it down, and should be interesting to see what we find. Alright, taking off the cam cover. And last time I did this, we broke off some of the bolts. This time the motor's pretty hot, so we should be fine. All right. A bunch of oil just poured out of the cover. Took out the last bolt. Man. Rockers look to be in good shape. Alright, let's take a look down here. We'll check this out and come back. It looks like everything's pretty decent. Don't see anything too wrong yet. We're gonna look for the little decompression valve spring, see if that's in there. Alright, so everything that is supposed to be in here is in here. There's a little decompression valve down there that's in there. Everything's in line, everything seems tight. Cam chain isn't too tight, isn't too loose. So you can see the tensioner doing its job down there. This bolt was broken off. I did not do that, I didn't even touch that and it broke. So that's kind of weird. I wonder if that broke off when he was taking it off and then he just left it like that, which could probably cause some problems because then the valve cover isn't pushing down on this, which is not good. So maybe that was the cause of everything. I'm not sure. We'll have to take it apart and see, but pipes are coming off next. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts for the pipes, and then one back here, and the pipe will come off. But we'll get the pipe off, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts holding the head on here. So we'll see. Once we take the head off, we should be able to see what's going on. We'll see if the valves are bent. We'll see if the piston's scored, and then we'll take off the cylinder, and then we can really diagnose the problem. I did notice this pin right here was out as well. See that pin that was laying in there? So if this came out and was just kind of janky, that could definitely cause it to lock up. So we'll have to see. We'll continue the process of breaking it down, and we should get there pretty soon. Alright, this part we have to kind of be careful with. We're going to take out the cam. When you take out the cam, you're going to want to tie like a piece of wire or something around the chain, just so you don't drop that down into the cylinder or into the crankcase here. So we'll do that. There's 2 pins on the side that come out. We'll take those out with the pliers. Little dowel. That's kind of what they look like. Move. There's the other one. Take the cam chain tensioner out. It's right there. Right there. Take that out. That'll loosen up the chain on the top end, so you can take that cam out. This cam chain tensioner out. Now this chain up here should be pretty loose. Yeah, there we go. Now nice and loose. Now we can take that camshaft out of there. Alright guys, got the cam out of here. Go put this by the rest of the parts. There's 4 nuts in here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Be careful not to drop the washer from this one in there when you're taking that out. But once we get those 4 off, we should be able to take off the head. Stay tuned. Alright, so far so good. It doesn't look like the piston's bad from the top. Looks pretty much brand new. Let's go take a look at the head over here. I have not yet looked at this. There's a little decompression valve. Alright. Man, everything looks good. Everything looks really good. Valves don't have any carbon on it. Spark plug is not. Spark plug looks like it's got a nice gap in it, so the piston's not hitting the spark plug. Let's see here. And there was a spring and the decompression valve right there. You can see the spring. These are the washers for the top end. Yeah, we'll have to take off the valves, inspect those. You know, maybe they're just bent or something. But on to the cylinder. This is where we're gonna be able to tell what's wrong with it. My prediction is still that crank bearing. I'm thinking it's the crank bearing. Write your prediction down below before we take this thing off. Crank bearing, is it the piston? Did it get too hot? I don't know. We're gonna find out right now. All right, take the cylinder off. There's 4 big bolts right here. Those were all torqued down. And I took those out, and then there's 2 on the side. A lot of people forget about these. 2 little 8mm right here. So we'll take those off, and then the cylinder should just pop right off of there. Here we go, cylinder coming off. We find out what's wrong with it right here. Cylinder's off of it. Cylinder looks perfect. Not one single scratch on that bad boy. And you can see it was honed. Huh. Nothing broken on it. Everything is intact. Alright, let's take a little look at the piston here. This is just really weird. The piston looks really good too. No scratch. Those are just like fine scratches, but I can't get my fingernail in them. Top of the piston looks perfect. Everything looks perfect on it so far. I don't know what the heck could be wrong with it. Yeah, everything is good. That side, no scratches. Rings aren't stuck. You can see the rings aren't stuck at all. Well, we found the issue. Check this out. Check in here. Crank bearings are just sealed up in there. Yeah, crank bearings are pretty much done for in there. You can see it just doesn't move at all. And if I hold this right here and try to crank over the motor, check this out. Oop, wrong way. I mean, it's locked up in there. Those bearings are like sealed to the crankshaft. So it looks like we will be doing a bottom end on this thing. Fun, fun, fun. Alright guys, I finally just freed it up. Check this out. Look at that play. There's up and down play. And there's a ton of side to side play. So that's not good at all. And when you rotate it, it actually gets caught in some places. So I think the bearings are just junk in there. Alright, so we got the piston off over here. I'll quick show you guys the piston. Piston's actually in perfect shape, surprisingly. You can see the piston here. These scratches are not big at all. I think it's just wear on the paint, but the rings look good. Really no imperfections on the piston. Not bad at all. I'll probably still replace it with a with like a Pro X piston. Then here's the cylinder. Quick look at the cylinder. You can see there's no gouges on it or anything. Very clean. Probably just needs a little hone. But we can probably reuse the cylinder, or I can find a stock one. Doesn't really matter. And then the head is good except for the one bolt coming out of here. That was broken off. But we can just drill that out. That'll be fine. Get a new bolt. And then if we take a look at the crank, I kind of knew it was the crank just because it would sometimes work, sometimes not. And I've never had this experience, but I can kind of tell when something turns over and it gets stuck, and then it's fine, breaks loose, and then gets stuck. You kind of know it's the crank bearing. And you know, it sometimes works, sometimes not work. But they're, if you look closely in here, I'll try to zoom in. They're completely flattened in there. Let's see if I can show you guys. And there's gaps in between. So you see how those are flat and they're kind of moving all over the place. I'll try to get like a spot where it's really bad. There's the spot where it's really bad. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but there's a huge gap. See, you can see where the bearings are supposed to be. They're just completely gone. So yeah, that's exciting. We're gonna have to do a whole bottom end rebuild on this thing. New crank, and then we're probably gonna look for a new piston. And that should be that. But yeah, we found out the problem. That's the main thing. And this thing is just completely shot. I mean, look how much that moves around. And then up and down. There's a little play up and down. It's not horrible, but there's definitely some play. And there shouldn't be any play up and down. And then when you look in there, you can just see the bearings are shredded. So, all right, in other good news, I did get the seat cover for this thing, even though we won't need this probably for a while now. But I did get the seat cover, and I think it looks pretty sweet. I think it'll match pretty well. It's got the Honda on the side, black with the silver tones, and then the silver Honda. Looking pretty sweet. Let's see if it matches up with the plastics here. This is kind of what it's gonna look like. Oh yeah, that'll be pretty sweet, I think. Yeah, that will look awesome. We probably won't be installing this until the bottom end of the motor is rebuilt. So leave a comment down below. Give me some good suggestions on cranks. Gonna need that. And yeah, it's gonna be exciting tearing apart this motor. It looks like the clutch has to come out. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a project for sure. But I've never done it before, so it should be a good learning experience. Yeah, that is what we've got going on. Not really sure what we're gonna do with the cylinder and piston yet. Either we're gonna get a new piston and a stock cylinder, or put these back in it. I'm really not sure, because it ran fine with these in it. But we'll definitely take a look at the valves, see if they're bent, and replace the valve seals for sure, and get a whole new gasket kit. So that's gonna be another video on that. But if you look at the valves, they're really actually pretty good. No carbon built up or anything, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. Unlike my other 400EX, which was just completely clogged up with carbon. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Stay tuned for next video when we tear into the bottom end. Should be pretty exciting. If you need any motorcycle, ATV, or scooter parts, check out lap2.com. Lots of good parts up there. And I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Until next time, we are out.